I've ever made. It is my intent to blow your minds and make this just the most exciting and motivating and inspirational speech I've ever done. And I know already by the way I've started it that I will fail. But it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, actually, because in this room, I would actually make a bet with any one of you that I am the biggest failure in this room. I would bet you that I have failed more than anybody else in this room. And it started at a very, very young age. I mean, I can remember I was 10 years old. I got a phone call from the minister at our family church, and he said, "Hey, Carl, this is Gordon. You know, I was in 3rd grade, I guess it was, or 4th grade." He said, "We'd like you to do the tech every Sunday for church, where you put the mics up and the sound and do all that stuff." And I was like, "Sure, that'll be easy." And he said, "No, it won't be easy." And he was right. I mean, from cables falling out, batteries dying, and feedback in the middle of the Sunday service, and there was one guy that would come up, and no matter how good I thought I was doing, he'd always say, "It's too loud." And if anybody sees Rick Brown, please tell him that I've made a nice little career out of that input. But, you know, so that was a little bit of a failure, but I managed to work my way through it. And then, and actually, I had an experience in 7th grade where I went out for, I've told you my basketball story. In 7th grade, I went out for basketball, and I was actually I thought I was actually a pretty good basketball player. My Uncle Kenny taught me how to shoot, dribble, and I was kind of fast and everything. This is going to be a no-brainer. So I tried out and got cut the first day. And I thought about it, and the next day I went into Mr. Boylan's office and I said, "You know, thanks for letting me try out. I'm just wondering, what can I work on so that next year maybe I could make the team?" And he gave me a couple tips, maybe learn how to shoot, maybe learn how to dribble, get some speed. And I said, "All right, I'm going to start working on that." And the next day he called me into his office and he said, "You know what, I've decided I want you on the team. Because I think you might be able to make something and help inspire the guys." I was like, "Okay, great, awesome." And then, of course, we proceeded to lose 17 games in a row, 2 seasons in a row. Failure. And I continued my epic track record. In my high school, actually, right before I started the high school, they were one of the first schools in the state, if not the country, to install a complete color TV studio. And because of my background in the church with all that technology, I sort of got recognized as the guy who knew how to plug mics in and fix when batteries go dead and all that kind of stuff. So very early, I got involved in this color TV studio in my high school. And it turned out that the state of Pennsylvania was so impressed with what the color studio was turning out that they gave us this assignment. They wanted us to do an inspirational video for students to get more involved in extracurricular things, and sports and band and all that kind of stuff. And my teacher, Mr. Cardellino, said, "Carl, I want you to produce this thing." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is the most fantastic thing. What a great project." So I got to work on it. I'm shooting things and doing interviews, and we're creating music for it. And we had this edit base, and I was editing and learning how to work all that stuff. And I worked tirelessly for 2 months to get this thing done. I mean, literally, my parents, I don't know if you remember this, my parents said, because my grades were slipping, they said, "You know, what's the deal here? You're sort of out of whack." And I was like, "No, I'm on this project, so I'll try to keep up with that stuff." But I got this really cool project for the state of Pennsylvania Board of Education. So I'm working on it, it's coming along really well, and actually, it was so exciting to me, and I was so focused on it that my teacher, with my parents' permission, would actually, when he would leave at the end of the day, would actually lock me in the studio. There was a bathroom in there, but he would lock me in. Nobody in the school knew. And there was a couch, so I would work all night, and then finally when I couldn't do it anymore, I'd sleep, and the janitor would come in, and he'd wake me up and say, "All right, Carl, you gotta go have breakfast," and I'd come back in. And that went on for about a week. Got this thing done. I don't know if you remember 3/4-inch videotape, and got done, popped it out, my masterpiece. My 15-minute masterpiece. And I went in, I put it on my teacher's desk, His desk was always a mess, Mr. Carlino. He couldn't, he's like an Einstein kind of guy. Put it there. Went to my classes, going about my day, and I get paged on the school sound system. Carl Daikeler, please report to the TV studio. I'm like, he must have seen my video. Gonna check out this positive feedback. And I walk into his office, and the guy is ashen white. I'm like, well, Mr. Carlino, what's the deal? And he's on the sofa where I would nap, and he's like, you have to sit down. I go, oh no. What happened there? And he goes, you left that tape on my desk, right? And I was like, yeah. He goes, you left it by all the other blank cassettes, right? And I was like, oh. He said, I put it in and taped a school assembly on the master. I had 2 days until I was supposed to turn this into the state. I was like, oh, failure. So I spent the next 48 hours without sleep, with a little bit of food, and I cut the hell out of that thing. I remembered what I had. I had the raw material, and I just had to buckle down and cut it, and it turned out actually better than the original. We turned it into the state. We won an award. It was really exciting, really awesome. Okay? So I had this thing, clutched disaster out of the jaws of disaster. And then, I was talking to my dad about, where things were going to go for me, what was next, and he was like, I really want you to do Up With People. My sister had gone, anybody hear of Up With People? Okay, so my sister did that. She toured around, she became bilingual, Spanish and everything, and it was a pretty cool thing. So he really wanted me to do that, and I really wanted to go to college. And I just wanted to get started with my career. But he really wanted me to do Up With People. But I really wanted to go to college. But no, he really wanted me to do Up With People. But now, Dad, I really want to go to college. Failure, I went to college. Well, actually, I had to start applying. So I started to apply to schools. I applied to Boston College, or Boston University. I applied to, Boston University. But Boston College is cool, too. Emerson, Syracuse, rejected. Remember I said my grades slipped? Well, that also meant my SATs were pretty lame. I think I got points for signing my name. And so I got rejected from these schools. But the one I really wanted to get into, the one with the best poster with the prettiest girl in the hallway at school, was Ithaca College. So I was like, maybe I'll get in there. So I applied to Ithaca, rejected. But I really wanted to go, so I called up the dean's office and I said, hey, I'd like to tour the campus if that would be okay. A friend of mine wanted to go to Cornell, so we drove up there together, and they said, sure, anybody can tour the campus. So we went. We were touring the campuses, and we got to the School of Communications, and I asked the secretary, could I meet with the dean, please? And they were like, well, he's not in right now. And I was like, well, how long till he'll be in? She said about a half hour. I said, okay. So I kept touring, and I went back half hour, and I got a meeting with the dean. And I said, I just need 10 minutes. So I went in there, and I had a copy of my award-winning videotape, and I said, hey, look, you guys turned me down. You said I was not Ithaca material. But let me tell you something. You're going to have a lot of people come in here who are going to have great grades. They succeeded at the SATs. They're going to show you that they're going to be great students. I said, I'm going to do something more than be a great student. I don't know what kind of grades I'm going to get here, but you're not going to find somebody that works harder. And then after the education, which is what I think you want, I'm going to work to be the greatest alum that this school has ever had. I'm going to try to make you guys proud of the education that I get. And I'm telling you right now that the output that I will show you will be worth giving me this chance to come to your school. He looked at me kind of cross-eyed, kind of like I was an alien, kind of the same way that Mr. Boylan in 7th grade basketball looked at me. And he said, well, look, I have a meeting now. Why don't you come back in a couple of hours, go grab lunch, and then we'll talk. So I don't know if you remember this, but this is 82 or so. This was before they raised the drinking age in New York from 18 to 21 like it was in Pennsylvania. So my friend and I had our first 3-beer lunch legally there in Ithaca, and we sort of stumbled our way back to campus. And I went into his office, tried to gather myself, and he said, Carl, you're accepted to Ithaca. Will you join us? And I was like, absolutely. So I got accepted to Ithaca, and I made Dean's List. I got good grades, but more importantly, I got the tools that would help me do what this is now, what we're creating now. And even more exciting, what's more exciting, we funded a program that the School of Communications is doing right now so that the students are creating a self-esteem, body image, and fitness program to help teenage girls feel good about themselves. All started with a lot of failure. And then I got out of school, you know, gonna be a hot-shot broadcaster, and I got in the infomercial business. Sorry, Dad. And I produced some of the worst infomercials in history, stuff I'm not proud of, I'm not going to name. Failure after failure after failure. And somehow, with all those failures that were mounting up, the CEO of that company said, all right, we're going to move you from that, and we're going to send you over to Europe, where we want you to open up our infomercial business in the UK and into Europe. So I went over there. I didn't know anything about supply chain management. I was a communications guy that used to run sound in church. And I'm dealing with what they call VAT taxes and transfer taxes and all this stuff. And the Europe launch was pretty much a flop, a total failure. So they brought me back and they put me in charge of the media department. I was buying $2 million or $1.5 million of media a week, and the company was doing worse and worse and worse, and it ended up going bankrupt. Total failure. But somehow I got recognized by these guys as having a skill set. I got another job in the infomercial business, got a little bit of traction. 8-minute ads happened. That was a nice hit for me. And then a group of investors, shortcutting the story a little bit, but a group of investors says, this guy's in a lot of demand in the infomercial business, and they put up $500,000 for John and I to start this company, and I began my next phase of failure. And by next phase of failure, now there's mixed with some successes in there. We had great abs guaranteed, thin thighs guaranteed, Power 90, Slim and 6. But that was surrounded with other products which were just as good, really fantastic products, but we couldn't figure out how to market them. Project U, we couldn't figure out how to market that thing. Sean T's Rockin' Body, couldn't figure out how to market that thing. Rev Ab, Chalene Extreme. You know, we just struggled. And in the midst of this, then we started to test this new thing, P90X. And at the same time, we got this idea for a network marketing business to maybe replace this failure in network marketing that we had tried. This idea I had, we called it My Beachbody. That's what the club used to be called. And in My Beachbody, whenever you referred somebody in, you would make 5% of whatever they bought as My Beachbody. It was not going anywhere. It wasn't growing. So we had this other idea. Let's replace that with this thing called $1 Million Body and the $1 Million Body game. And we got started. We were going to launch that thing on January 1st, 2007. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be ready. I convinced 41 people. We're going to have this nailed, and it launched sometime in April. Total failure. And even then, we couldn't get out of our own way. You could barely get an order in. We lost orders. Stuff showed up late. Volume was late. Sometimes we missed check runs. It was just about as bad a launch. We were going to be another failed network marketing business. But somehow we attracted people to the mission who felt like it was worth hanging around. And we got better. And we launched Shakeology. And about the same time, P90X had been through something 22, 23 different versions of that show to make it work. And that becomes one of the fastest growing, if not biggest, brands in fitness between 2007 and 2011. And Shakeology, which I can remember the first presentation of Shakeology, I got the look, Mr. Boylan and the Dean of the Communications, like, really? Over $4 a serving for a shake? No, this is the special one. This is one for people like me that don't like vegetables, that would need some way to get some health inside their body. And maybe there's enough of us that care about nutrition that if it just tasted like chocolate, you'd drink it. And it turned out that actually worked. Failure after failure, though. It took failure. And if you tried some of the early samples of Shakeology, man, you know on Saturday Night Live they do spit takes, you know? That's the way it was, man. We had a guy, his full-time job was like, new Shakeology flavor, huh? Thanks, Pedro. But, you know, eventually we got it. And then there were some things about the formula that we wanted to change. We were so excited because people love this because it's a health shake. Let's put it out there. We're going to make this thing happen. Put it out there. Give them. They'll love it. You guys spit that thing out and we were like, oh no. That was going to be a really big business. Remember that? But you were patient with us, and in a matter of 2.5 months, we got that flavor turned around, actually substituted some of the fructose out of there, and you embraced the reformulation. And now, as I mentioned earlier, we're up to 250,000 people drink that thing every single day. Failure. It's unbelievable. You know what? It kind of makes sense. You know, all this failure, and I think one of the reasons that it is so meaningful to me, you know, and people say, hey, Carl, you're so humble, and you're just a regular guy. That's because when I look at this, and you guys ask me, you know, we take these photos, and you're like, oh my God, you must look at what you've created and what this has become, and you must be so proud. You got to understand, I don't see this incredible success. I see this incredible failure that has turned into something so beautiful, but I can't see it separate from what it takes to get here. And I got to tell you, every single day I wake up, there's something that I'm failing at right now. I mean, hey, let's look at reality. Body Beast, we haven't been able to make that thing work out. Guess what happened last weekend? And what I think is the 15th test of that show, we got traction. You're going to see Body Beast on TV. By the way, you want to have a good time? Say to Sagi, the biggest, most massive, scary guy you'll ever see, say, hey, I hear your show's going to turn out. Yeah, I know. He's such a sweet guy. I'll hold you, Sagi. But look, I'm surrounded by, I'm surrounded by failure. And what it comes down to is I think one of the reasons I'm like this, my mom sent me an email last week. She's like, hey, you need to start taking it easy a little bit. I can tell you're a little bit stressed, and your communication, and the fact that I haven't spoken to you in 7 months. And I've come to realize that I'm actually comfortable with the discomfort. And when we talk about never giving up, I think that's what it comes down to. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm surrounded by people who taught me that. I'm lucky enough to have family here. My stepmom, Sharon, she's an incredible voice. If you heard her sing, it's like operatic. It's like incredible. And she auditions constantly, and she is constantly rejected. But she deals with it. I mean, I've known you 30 years. I think we've known each other. And she just, rejection after rejection. And then sometimes she gets the part and she performs, and people are blown away at what she has done. She fails constantly, and because of that, she succeeds constantly. My Uncle Kenny, who I'm so lucky to have here, if you ever think I have a measure of showmanship or craziness about it, blame him. Blame him. But I watched this guy, one of the greatest senses of humor I've ever come across, but I watched this guy build this business with such pride. In these cars, they look like NASCAR. It was in the sort of automotive hydraulic lift business. Is that that's kind of what it is. And he had this big shop and employees, and he overbuilt it. Too much overhead. And then when anything went sideways, and you got more people, and you don't know what this guy's doing or that guy's doing, and maybe some guys maybe skimming a little bit on his of that, and the thing cratered on him. Failure. So he slimmed it down, he moved it into his house, and he kept working on it. And he's got one of the most successful, ongoing followings of loyal customers that you could ever want. He's one of the best salesmen I have ever met. He inspires me every time I talk to him. Failure, 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 unbelievable success. My mom, she's done everything right. I don't know what's the deal. No, actually, she had an interior design business that was the envy of the interior design industry because she would teach interior designers how to do workshops, and she would have people come together and they go from house to house and decorate a room, and it was really a great business. But she looked at it and she was like, I'm teaching everybody how to design, but I'm not doing any design anymore. Failure. So she sold it, or she got rid of it. She moved on. Failure, 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 absolute success. One of the greatest inspirations for me is my dad. I want to talk about resilient. This guy went from this incredible business, things were going incredibly well, and then when it turned sideways with the gas crisis and other things that happened, he had to shut the thing down. But he didn't take it bankrupt. He made sure that every customer got what they paid for and every vendor got paid, even though it almost killed him. And then when he had to find that next job, he took 2 jobs, and overnight, as a night watchman, had his little Salinger, is that what that thing was? A little typewriter, and he would knock out 100 resumes and letters a night that he would send out. And he ended up getting this job as a senior vice president, or started, you were the assistant to the president, or the CEO of the world's largest party favors. Odds are, if you have a party with balloons, he's the one that sent it to you. Seriously, the biggest party favors company in the world, probably, built. When he started, it was like $5 to $10 million business out of a little garage in Philadelphia, and they built it to this huge thing with warehouses around the world. Failure, 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 massive success. Incredible work ethic. I'm even surrounded by failure at the office. Michael Neiman, an incredible guy to watch up here. This guy wanted to be a performer. Like, he would train with famous actors. He had the opportunity to really be, just didn't happen. But we happen to get to enjoy this expression of talent up here. And, you know, literally, I'm sure, you know, I'm not going to call everybody out and all their failures, so don't worry. The point is, the theme of never give up is, I think, can be a little sloganish, but it gets the point across. But the reason that it's meaningful is not because, oh, I'm never going to give up when things are good. That's the easy part. The thing to remember, the thing to take away from this weekend is you got to find a way, like Diana Nyad said, like you've heard so many speeches, you got to find a way to never give up when you're in the midst of failure after failure after failure. That's when never give up matters. That's when all of a sudden you show what you've got going for you. That's when you show that you truly are a leader in this business and that you deserve to be part of that millionaires club. You think those millionaires, it always went well for them? Absolutely not. They dealt with the failure, they dealt with the challenges, they dealt with botched launches at Beachbody, or terrible technology, or somehow, literally, I do not understand how this happens, but constant technology breakdowns on Wednesday. I'm getting emails from people, you do this on purpose, right? You do this when the week's about to close, and all of a sudden, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the site goes down. No. It's just, we're just failing. But it's true. And we constantly work at it. And when you, even around here, as we're blowing it, I mean, they've done such an amazing job organizing 9,000 people moving and trying to get everybody into workouts and all this kind of stuff. And fist fights are breaking out. You got to remember, we're just people too, and sometimes, you know, after a week without sleep, we're gonna try to figure it out. At the end of the day, we're gonna keep failing, and we're gonna get better, and wait till Nashville, because that's gonna rock. We're gonna do better, bit by bit by bit. Failure's gonna happen. Hey, right? We thought we ended slavery. We had a whole war about this thing ended slavery. And a president got shot for it. Like the whole, but then we, you know, got into the 60s, still didn't have equality, worked that out, a lot of confrontation, a lot of conflict, a lot of violence, but hey, we're getting there, right? It turns out there's 3 times more slavery now than there were in the transatlantic slave days. Failure, failure, failure. Do we give up? Absolutely not. We give some money to IJM. We get creative. We talk to people about it. We promote it. Failure, failure, failure. This is the human condition. The only constant is constant change. People ask for, hey, is truth permanent? Is love permanent? I don't think so. I mean, it's always around us. It's always available. But it's going to come down to your choice. The choice to not give up on it is where your success lies. Let me say that again. The choice to be successful comes down to when things are tough and it looks absolutely hopeless to you. When we thought P90X would never work, we saw potential and we tried again. When you think there's no way that you can possibly get to Success Club because it's the 30th of the month and here comes the 31st and you're 3 points short, are you going to give up then? No. You're going to work another day. A great story. A great entrepreneur, and I hope I haven't shared this before, but he was getting interviewed one time. He was telling me about a story about when, who's the guy? John Glenn? John Glenn was a test pilot, right? So John Glenn? Yeah. Okay, so John Glenn was getting interviewed during his test pilot days, and the interviewer said, you know, so as a test pilot, can I work on a hypothetical here with you? You know, what if your plane's going down, and you see the mountain coming, and it's done. All your options are exhausted, and you're going to hit that mountain. What is the last thing that you think? And John Glenn says, try something else. And the guy says, yeah, no, I get it. But really, literally, like the mountain is there. Like you can see the rocks. What is the last thing that goes through your mind? Try something else. And the reporter goes, yeah, wait, you're not getting the question. This is, you feel the mountain against your nose. And John Glenn says, do you want to feel my fist against your nose? I try something else. I don't build in a hypothetical for how do I bail out of this mission. I try something else. That's what you do. Carrie, can you put that slide up for me? So last year we asked you to put up what's your commitment? My dad put up his commitment. By the end of 2013, I want to introduce 100 persons age 60 and older to Tai Chi and 100 persons age 60 and older to Shakeology. How'd you do? Failure. That's right. We were talking about that, and he said, you know, I'm disappointed in myself. And I said, Dad, I could put you on stage, and I think there would be 9,000 people that go, yeah, me too. Because we all experience that. This is the human condition. This is the experience. How you deal with setbacks and suffering and resistance and challenge, that is the game. So here we are in a business with an opportunity to help people achieve their goals to lead healthy, fulfilling lives. Every time you take action, like Jeff said, you go for Success Club. You get in Coach Basics. You try to win the Team Cup. At least you put a team together to do the best you can with that Team Cup. Maybe you don't achieve your goals, but you tried. He tried, and he's not done trying, reaching out to people with Tai Chi. He's absolutely going to keep trying. That's what we do. That's what my family does. One of the people I'm the most proud of in the world is my sister. Incredible resistance, incredible problems. She's a friggin' warrior, man. You gotta be a warrior. You never quit. Resistance is going to happen. I think the people with the hardest resistance, with the wind blowing in their face, the steepest hill, they're the toughest warriors. Katie, if you're out there, you and that cancer, beat that mother. You know why? Because somebody's going to be inspired by it. You're going to be fulfilled by it. Be fulfilled by action, not the TV, not how much can I eat, not, hey, look how much we drank last night. Be fulfilled by action, by taking something on. I'll finish with a little story that I heard, and I'll probably botch it a little bit, but there was this woman walking along the beach, taking her normal Sunday morning walk. She's going out there. There had been a big storm the night before. She's walking along, and she looks down. She sees, like, the beach is kind of orange. She's walking along. What the heck is going on? She gets closer. She realizes that literally tens of thousands of starfish had been washed up on the beach. And she's like, what the heck? And she, like, beautiful starfish just lining the beach. As she walks farther, she sees this 8-year-old boy picking him up, throws a starfish out there. She picks it, finds it, throws it, watches it go in. She goes, hey, what are you doing? Why, you really probably shouldn't throw those things. And they're like, oh no, they need to be in the water, otherwise they're going to get baked in the sun here because they're not in the tide pool, so they need to be out in the water so that they can survive. She looks up and down the beach. She's thinking, this poor kid, he's going to be so disappointed by this incredible failure. I mean, his parents are going to get him. He's going to have to go to lunch or something. This is not going to be pretty for him. So she goes back over and she goes, well, you know, it's great what you're trying to do here, but you know you're never going to get them all in the water. It's just not going to matter. You're not going to be able to get them all in there. He looks at her, kind of like Mr. Boylan looked at me. Picks up one, throws it as hard as he can. Mattered to that one.